world shrieks and sinks talons into our hearts. This we call memory. And where are you stationed?
Okay, my name is Mike Irwin. I was stationed in Bien Hoa, Vietnam.
Okay, and how old were you when you were stationed there?
24, 25, that age.
Okay, and were you drafted to go to Vietnam, or was it voluntary?
No, it was voluntary. I joined the Army to go to flight school. I went to Europe for 14 months. Then I came back and went to flight school for helicopter.
How did you feel about the U.S. involvement in Vietnam?
I thought it was ridiculous, to tell the honest truth. And the reason I thought that was that they would not let us fight like we would have liked to fight. They had too many restrictions on us as far as shooting, as far as attacking the enemy, and those kind of things. So most of us, the people in my company, felt the same way. You know, we took troops in who were pinned down on the ground. We supported them with fire, rocket fire, minigun fire, and those kind of things to try to help them get out of the situations they were in. So, as a rule, most of the time, though we weren't doing everything that we wanted to do, we were doing things that helped our people, our troops, survive, and so that made it all worthwhile.
And like dropping them off and everything, was that like a normal day on duty in Vietnam, or what was that like?
That was a normal day for the slick pilots. The slick pilots were the ones who flew the troop carriers. We carried troops in, we carried supplies in, we resupplied the troops we'd taken in. We did medevac, we did just a host of things in the slicks. In addition to two companies of slicks, two platoons of slicks, we had a platoon of gunships. Gunships escorted the slicks when the slicks were carrying troops into hot landing zones, hot LZs they call them, or cold.
Any of that opposition ever affect you in any kind of way?
No. I guess the closest it might have come was when I came home from Vietnam, and I flew into New Orleans. And during the course of the flight, which was just hours and hours and hours and hours, of course we heard news, we read papers, we read books, we heard all of these things that people were spitting on soldiers and calling us baby killers and all the other things. And by the time I got to New Orleans, I was kind of prepared to punch the first guy. but it really, nobody ever did anything like that to me. And I just went right on with life. I lost 3 roommates while I was over there, other pilots who lived with me, and we each had rooms of 2 people to a room, and I lost 3 different roommates while I was over there through aircraft crashes and getting shot.
So with that, one of those would be your worst days in Vietnam?
Yeah, one of those would be.
How have you readjusted to life after your tour of duty? Like, was it hard or easy?
It was not at all difficult. Not at all difficult, because when I came back, I had a couple of weeks off of leave time that I got to spend with Catherine, my wife, and my parents, and the rest of my family. And so that helped blend back into the civilian world. And then I went right back to instructing in the helicopters. So there was never a period of time where I could sit and dwell on where I had been, what I had done, what I had seen, and those kind of things. So it was relatively easy. I don't think there's been many changes. My beliefs are still pretty much the same as they were before I went over there. I still don't believe that it's right to indiscriminately kill people, but we were in a war. And while I didn't ask for the war, I didn't ask to go, the country sent me there to fight, and that's what I did. And I didn't have a problem with it. And as aircraft commander in a gunship, you just fire hundreds of rockets and thousands upon thousands of bullets, and there's no telling, you know, who you killed or who you haven't, or you know, we would have gone into North Vietnam, we would have gone into Cambodia, we would have gone into Laos and all those other places that were resupplying the enemy, and that where the enemies were coming from. We could have stopped it. We could have stopped it. We could have very quickly put an end to that. Saved countless lives in the process. I believe through flight school together with back in the early 60s are still around, not around here, but scattered throughout the country, and we can talk if we choose to. And others that we've known in Vietnam or along the way doing other things, teaching in the flight school, doing those kind of things. We can still reminisce if we choose to do it, and things like that. So it's not too bad.
Good. What about communication back home while you're over there? Was it, were y'all, you were married to your wife?
We were married. We
okay.
had been married just a very, very short time when I went to Vietnam, and we did a few letters, but I'm not one to write letters. But we did most of our communication by tape. You know, back then we had the little cassette recorders and those kind of things, so we would record, you know, letters, so to speak, and we would send them back and forth and back and forth. Not only was that good communication, but you got to hear her voice, and that helped a lot. And I even you know, would occasionally talk to my parents or something like that. And so they would come home. But the politicians won't let them do that, and they wouldn't let us do it in Vietnam. So I think it's pretty much the same. Well, I'll tell you this, that I will never regret the experience that I had over there. I do regret losing the people, the friends that I had. I regret those things, but I don't regret going over there. I absolutely love to fly helicopters.
I'll be better off than I was before. I've got this life